about Zoom is we get to enter each other's lives, into each other's homes, which is always nice. So here we are, and I think this is something like the 14th week. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? These weeks, they just roll on by. And yes, my own feeling is, we remain in these uncertain, somewhat febrile times. We've got changes again here in England happening over the next week. I saw on the news today that they're expecting massively heavy traffic this weekend everywhere as people are let out and they can go and stay overnight somewhere for the first time. I hope I've got that right. Apologies to any government people present if I've got that wrong, but that's my understanding. And then, of course, we've got the news from America, the USA, where, they came out of lockdown and now they've just got spikes of coronavirus in various places, which I find very sobering. And it makes me realize that although we're coming out of lockdown here, we're by no means out of the woods because the virus is still in the world. And Leicester, as a city in the UK, is having to stay in lockdown because of a spike in cases. So we really are living with the unknown. And certainly from a Buddhist point of view, this is the nature of life. And you could say this is more accurate. We're living up closer to an accurate perception where life is always changing and we can never really know what's going to happen next. But normally, when life has the veneer of predictability, we get a certain level of security, of course. So I would imagine many of us are living with more insecurity in these times. And things like meditation, mindfulness, compassion are all the more important. Something I've been saying lately to people is if I say to people what I do as a mindfulness teacher, and they're often quite interested, and I talk about it as kind of mental hygiene, and I say, isn't it strange in our culture that we put a lot of, we understand and it's socially acceptable to wash our bodies, clean our teeth, floss our teeth, keep ourselves in good hygiene, and yet we don't really value mental hygiene. And I really deeply hope that over the next 50 years or so that, maybe sooner, but hopefully within 50 years, things like meditation, mindfulness, awareness, mind training will be a completely normal part of our lives. And we will have tools in our toolkit to call upon during times like this. Certainly that's been my experience. I've been so grateful that I've been meditating for many years to help me navigate these times. It's not to say it's pleasant, but I don't think I escalate my insecurity or my fear or my anxiety in the way that I used to. Escalate it mentally, that I've got the mental tools to be able to sort of bear the experience as it is without adding anything. And I feel grateful that I've learned those mental hygiene skills, shall we say. Tonight's meditation, what I want to do is a practice that I'm calling blue sky mind. Blue sky mind. And this is where we learn how to rest in awareness itself rather than over-identifying with content. So that the image traditionally is that awareness itself is like a radiant, clear blue sky. And all of our thoughts, our emotions, our worries, our anxieties, and so on They're like clouds passing across the mind. And what we can do is learn to have the sky as our orientation rather than being preoccupied with the clouds. I think that's a really wonderful metaphor, really wonderful analogy. And I think if we can rest in blue sky mind during these times and during all times, then there's a stability, there's a breadth, there's a depth. Experience still happens, of course, and we're still engaged with our lives, of course. And, thinking is also a tremendous skill, and we use our thinking to good effect. But we're not hijacked by our thoughts and our emotions in quite the same way. We're able to look at them rather than from them. That's another wonderful saying that comes from acceptance and commitment therapy. To look at our thoughts rather than from our thoughts. So it's as if our orientation is the sky and we can have a relationship with the clouds, but we're not completely immersed in the clouds and looking from the clouds. So I thought we'd have a bit of a go at that tonight. I thought that might be quite interesting during these times to have a little taste, a little experience of blue sky mind. So I won't say anything more and we'll just begin. Just get my timer sorted out so I can keep an eye on the time. So if we choose our position, as always, and taking time to find a posture that's going to be something that we can sustain for the next 20 minutes. Having said that, of course, it's fine to move in the meditation if you get very uncomfortable, but it's good to think about or consider what's the best position for my body. And you're very free to do this lying down. Do it standing. You could even just walk quietly up and down the room, listening to the practice if you'd like to, doing a walking meditation. Or you can do it sitting on a chair or on any meditation equipment that you have. We're looking for the body to be alert and yet relaxed. Closing the eyes if that's comfortable, or else you could just cast down your gaze a little bit. And beginning to drop awareness deep in the body and to rest in the points of contact between the body and the surface it's resting upon, whether that's the floor or a chair, meditation stool or cushions or a bed. But let's feel into those points of contact as best we can and see if we can let our weight drop down through those points of contact. Let's look for a sense of stability in the lower part of the body. Let's see if we can allow our awareness to sink right down into the feet and the legs, first of all. Another image which can be quite nice for this is to imagine that your body is like a sack of grain. And you put the sack of grain on a surface and it settles, doesn't it? It settles. The grain kind of falls to the bottom of the sack. So see if your awareness can be like this. So your awareness is settling right down in the legs. Being aware of any sensations that might be present if they're painful. Seeing if we can be open to these sensations without automatically contracting against them. and let them just be part of our experience. So we're aware of the whole legs. There may be pain within that, but there'll also be other sensations within that. Being open to everything. If your legs feel numb for any reason, we can still have a sense of the legs, even if your sensations are not strong. Coming to the buttocks, resting. And allowing the spine to float up out of the pelvis. If you're lying down, you can still have a sense of this. And if we're sitting, it's like as we let the tension drop down out of the body, it frees up space in the body where the spine can float up following its natural curves. All the way to the very top and having the head poised on the top of the spine. If we're sitting, checking the angle of the head, seeing if we can have it aligned with gravity. Chin tucked in just a little bit, release through the base of the skull. If we're lying, giving the weight of the head up fully to the pillow or the cushion. Being careful not to strain. As I say, it's as we allow the weight to sink downwards, there can be a corresponding release into length, into breadth in the whole spine, the whole back of the body. Now coming into the front of the torso, there's the belly and the chest. Can you allow these to release into space, to length and breadth? And feeling the movement and the rhythm of breathing. Opening on the in-breath, subsiding on the out-breath. Allowing breathing to find its own natural rhythm in the whole front of the torso, the sides of the torso. And allowing these movements to billow into the back of the torso, the whole back of the body. So that is also participating in breathing. Opening on the in-breath, subsiding on the out-breath. Being aware of the whole torso. Expanding in all directions on the in-breath, subsiding on the out-breath. So the volume filling, subsiding, filling, subsiding in 360 degrees in the whole torso as we rest here. Now allowing the shoulders to fall away from the midline of the body. If we're sitting, having the hands resting in the lap or on the thighs. If we're lying down, having the arms supported by the floor. So the shoulders are resting in gravity. And allowing awareness to pour through the shoulders, down the arms, all the way to the tips of the fingers and the thumbs. Coming up now back through the arms and up through the throat, and allowing our awareness to inhabit the whole head and face. Letting the face be soft. And seeing if we can experience the head as a limb of the body. Very often we think of the head being separate from the body, but it's part of the body. So the body and the mind, or the body and the head, are not separate. They're all part of a flow of awareness. Broadening our awareness to be aware of the whole body, legs, torso, arms, head. Seeing if we can feel the body as a process, a flow of sensation, of movement. The rhythm of breathing in the whole body. Seeing if we can find softness in what I call the 5 B's of the breath. It's a helpful way to remember. So letting the buttocks be soft, the belly soft, the back of the body soft, the base of the skull soft, and the brain soft. The brain rests in the cranium, and there's movement deep inside with each in and out breath. You won't feel us directly, but I really love having a sense of my brain resting in a kind of pliable bed. It's not rigid, it's not solid, it's not stuck, it's flowing. So these 5 areas, buttocks, belly, back, base of the skull, brain, all soft, and the whole body soft, the whole body being breathed in its own rhythm. Now let's investigate awareness itself. Here we are experiencing the body, breathing, flow. And it takes awareness to know experience. So there's the experience and there's the knowing of the experience. And let's imagine that knowing is like a vast, clear, boundless, radiant sky. Experience is still happening. We're still engaged with experience. We're not splitting off. But it's like we've shifted to rest in this field of awareness that's limitless. And all the sensations, the movements, the breathing are taking place within that radiant awareness. So we've got perspective, we've got breath, clarity. This lovely phrase, blue sky mind. And mind here doesn't mean brain. Mind means awareness itself. Blue sky awareness. Experience is flowing through this awareness, just like clouds flowing across a sky, or leaves floating down a stream. Every time you get carried away or you jump inside content, just notice that with the interested awareness, not a judgmental awareness, thinking that's interesting. And then you can climb out of content and rest back inside awareness. What's that like? Always checking that the body stays soft, breathing soft. What's happening now? If you're completely lost, don't worry, it's normal. And in the noticing that you're lost, you're aware, and you have this choice point, you can tune back into what's actually happening in this moment and rest in awareness itself. Blue sky mind. Perspective, breath, stability. Now let's come back to the metaphor of the sack of grain settled on the earth, feeling into that quality in the legs and the buttocks, stability, presence, grounded. Feeling into breathing in the whole body. Maintaining this awareness of blue sky mind as we begin to bring this meditation to a close. With presence, perspective, groundedness, softness, fluidity. Beginning to move the body however we want to. Keeping this awareness going. Opening the eyes when we're ready. Good. Thank you, everybody. So that's past. Yeah, I'm curious how that was for you. So if you want to, you could put something in the chat box. A couple of words that describe something you contacted during that practice. So we can share that with one another. I think that's a nice thing to do. Feel like Laja from Stefano. Expansion, wonderful expansion, spaciousness, addictive, inner calm, very aware, fabulous. Skylight, calm, blue sky, mind space, spaciousness, some thoughts, didn't want it to end. Yeah, reflecting on my feelings from a different perspective, that's the outcome. Very calming, easy to maintain awareness, settled, free. So these are all lovely qualities, aren't they? I'm aware there might be some of you who had a more difficult time who maybe don't want to write in, which is, please don't feel you have to. Sky's huge, wonderful to remember. Buddhist reminder at the beginning, helpful, peaceful. Yeah. Good. Someone writing in from Portland, Oregon, in the middle of a bad colitis flare-up. I'm very sorry to hear about that. Good. Lovely to have you here. Welcome from America. Grounded and solid. Thank you. Good. So thank you all very, very much for joining me. And it is something that I'm really working on in myself. I find it incredibly helpful, this blue sky mind. I even like the phrase. It's got a nice sort of poetry to it, hasn't it? Blue sky mind. So please take that with you into your week. And it's something that you can always step back into. So when things get really kind of tight and contracted and it doesn't feel like blue sky at all, it just feels like you're lost in a thunderstorm. Remember that even when there's a thunderstorm, somewhere behind all those clouds, there is spacious awareness. It's a little like when you go on an aeroplane on a cloudy day and it's all gloomy and rainy on the ground, and then you go up through the clouds and then there's the sky. There's the sky. It was always there. So it's like we can just remember it's always there. Blue sky mind. Lovely. Thank you very much. And lovely. Thank you, Mark, for thanking Ollie for his tech support, which, as always, has been amazing. And I'll see you all next week. Have a good week and take good care of yourselves, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and all the very, very best.